Today I have the honor of interviewing Doc Diego, a prolific artist with over 9 albums currently available on digital streaming platforms. He just recently released Universal Toungues 3, completely produced by MANZU BEATZ. We're gonna bring him in and talk about his career, his prolific body of work, his new album, and what he has coming next.
All right, how you doing,
Good,
man?
man. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on the show. You got a new album that we're gonna get into, new video, incredible featurings, third installment, of the Universal Toungues. You have an
Appreciate it.
incredible discography that you've been, from 2020 to now, you've been putting in crazy work. And we're gonna unpack all that. But you know what I love to do whenever I talk to an artist and a creative is how you got started. The story of how you fell in love with music, how you got involved in music, and we'll work our way through your discography. How'd you get involved in music?
All right. Well, basically, like I was born in Rochester, New York, and my dad, GNyce, also known as GNyce, he was always, a DJ since I was born. And then, he went through the changes of being a DJ early on, and then, the late 80s, and then to the early 90s, he started recording artists, like Ito and Spesh, and there's so many dope artists up here, PA Knit, and so on and so on. It's this mad dope artists, and I was just lucky enough to be around that, when he first was a DJ making mixtapes, and then started recording artists. I was always around music, and then God bless the dead, my mother, she was a big music head. She always would cop CDs like every Friday, every time she got paid. Like I remember when DMX first dropped his album, she was like, "Oh, DMX album just dropped." So we rushed to go get the album and went back to the house, and I was doing like some science project with leaves or something. So I, finished my project listening to the DMX album. So I've always been a big music head, and this, me, I started writing, I'll say in the 5th grade.
Wow.
I started writing poetry and little rhymes here and there. And then this slowly but surely, like by the time I got to high school, we started a little rap group, like, cause in high school you can start whatever type of club you want to do. So we did a rap poetry club, you know what I mean? So we did that, and I did performances in high school. And, like I was telling you early on, that's when I met Knife Wonder, the producer from North Carolina who worked with Jay-Z and Little Brother and so many other dope acts. And he came to our high school, and we got to freestyle, and he just told us about the music business. And one of the main things that stuck with me is he told me just to be true to myself. And that's why I try to add conscious to my music. And every now and then I might do some punchlines or whatever the case may be, but there's always a line of consciousness in there. And I'm pretty sure you heard it, through listening through my music.
Yeah.
And this is how it always been, just doing music with my brothers, because I got mad brothers, and they, I got a couple brothers that produce and rap, Severe and my brother Rich Blue. They both do music. And this, it's just been a journey, just creating music, and it's a blessing, definitely.
So I went through your discography, but when I saw albums that you did with GNyce and Severe, I didn't realize that was family.
Right. Yeah.
It's a family affair.
Yeah. We like the new Jackson 5 or something like that. You know what I mean? Definitely.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. That puts a whole different, because I was like listening, and I was like, GNyce is on so many albums, but I didn't realize that was Pops.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my dad. That's who be like recording all my vocals, you know what I mean? Because he got his own studio, and I even invested in it a few years back, and just leading up to this point. And that's, one of the blessings, what I mean, having a dad who's a DJ who really passionate about the craft. And that's just Rochester as a whole. There's so much history here, so much dope artists, a lot of producers, DJs. It's just, we got it all, even fashion, it's all here. And I was just blessed to be around it.
Wow. Yeah, and upstate New York in general is just popping right now with Griselda, Buffalo, and you got Rochester, and it's It's nuts right there right now.
It's a beautiful thing to see, because growing up, I always told people like we have a lot of dope talent here, and like I said, my dad was recording artists, so I would have mixed CDs of these artists, just playing them to my friends and my family, and you know, I always would say that we, you know, all we need is a shot, and we could take over, and it kind of looked like it. Definitely throughout the underground, there's a lot of dope artists, you know, even like not, you know, people know Griselda and all them, but it's cats like, you know, Katona P, Street the Villain, you know, Grenade Rap, you know, Azariah, Jay Hustle. You know, it's mad dope MCs throughout upstate New York. You know, I be telling my friends and my peers is this, you know, we just as good as these top names. We just have to, you know, believe in ourselves and really push our own music, because ain't nobody gonna do it but you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope, man. You've been doing music your whole life. It's in your DNA. And you know, you were even telling me about your uncle who's like an attorney, and he's working on
my uncle, Jason Boss. Yep.
Yeah. So uncle, dad, brothers, the community, before, you know, what's currently on digital streaming platforms, right? Because, you know, you've got Universal Toungues in 2020, and then from 2020 to now, you've dropped like 9 or 10 projects. That's what's available now. What about before that? Because I know you've been doing stuff before that.
Yeah, like I said, like when my brothers, you know, on Severe, he rapped and he produced, but he's more of a producer. And recently he opened up like his own little computer shops, because he could, you know, repair phones and laptops and stuff like that. So that's what he's focused on right now. But like we always, like since the beginning, was rapping, you know what I mean? And this with my dad, and then like my uncle Jason Boss, he was a DJ. So I was just around that. And basically I was always recording. I do have some unreleased music, you know, that I could put out. But my very first mixtape, like my dad's studio was broken and I had to go to Ito. A lot of people know Ito, you know, from Rochester. He's a producer, MC that's really buzzing right now. And I recorded it at his spot. And it was just a blessing because, you know, I'm recording my first real official mixtape I'm about to put out with Ito. And around that time I had a song called Carolina-ish. And I put that on Coast to Coast mixtapes, and DJ Cinemax, he hit me up and he was like, you know, you should have me host it. So that was the plan. And basically I was recording it at Ito's, and he was just giving me a lot of game. It's telling me to really invest into my music, you know, if I'm really serious about it, you know, really push my music. And that was really what started me, you know what I mean? Autobiography of Pain. That was my first mixtape, Autobiography of Pain. And it's on livemixtapes.com.
Yeah, and I found it. I found Autobiography of Pain on like
That's
Last
dope.
FM. I was digging, you know what I'm saying? I found it like on Last FM or something like that. Have you thought about releasing that like on the digital streaming platforms?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna put it on Bandcamp, and I will put it on like Spotify, because you know I have a lot of fans on Spotify and Apple Music. So I'm definitely gonna put it on, you know, the digital streaming platforms. But like that was always the plan. Every time it's like, even now it's like it's a producer in the Netherlands named Noam Chomsky, you know, and I even had to tell him like we could drop the project either the end of this year or beginning of next year, because I had so much stuff lined up. Like, you know, producer in France, Master Conga, we got a project, the French Connection 3, and that was, you know, that was just a whole moment right there. And that's just a beautiful thing, you know, working with Skinny Bones, the Godfather in the Netherlands. You know, all these projects that I got out, they really have their own story.
Yeah.
And like, since it's a different beat, and just like with Skinny Bones, the Godfather, I call the project The Godfather and the Don.
Yeah.
Because M. Diego, Doc stands for Don of Composition. So basically, every time I work with a producer, every time I work with a producer,
got an album called that.
Yep. Because that honestly, that album was supposed to come out years ago, but when MANZU hit me up, that's when I started Universal Toungues 1. Yeah. And then it worked way to 2 and 3, and mad features and projects with all these producers. You know what I mean? Like Kazine, he from France as well.
Yeah.
Familiar Renaissance, and that really had a real big buzz too with that project. And that, you know, that's just a blessing. It's working with all these dope producers, and these are real big name producers. Like Skinny Bones, he worked with people in Dipset. And Kazine, he worked with mad dope, you know, top of the elite, you know, underground MCs, you know what I mean? So I got to work with these dudes. Like MANZU, he worked with, you know, artists from Wu-Tang. So, you know, I get plugged in with that, and that's kind of how it led to with Mav on Universal Toungues 3, you know, they from Rochester and the Cloth, and like I said before, my dad worked with mad different artists, so people are familiar with me as well as they're familiar with my work because I've been putting in a lot of work. So you know what I mean, it's just a blessing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So many questions I got like so many questions from everything you just
Cool.
shared. The first thing I think that's important, because I didn't know, is what does M.Doc Diego stand for, the full name?
Well, originally it was like Murdoch Diego, then I shortened it to M.Doc. And like I said, DLC stands for Donna Composition. The M stands for either Murdoch, or when it's the M, it stands for Melanated. So the Melanated Donna Composition.
Yeah.
And Diego was my Spanish name because I took Spanish in high school, and we all got to pick names. And Diego was my Spanish name. So that's how I pieced it all together.
Got it. Yeah, because when you said it and you have an album called Dawn of Composition, it's all clicking for me. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned the Cloth. And all right, so what's Familiar? Because it's in your handle, Familiar Diego.
Yeah. Like my older brother.
Get familiar, right?
Yeah.
So what is
that's
like a crew?
That's yeah. Yeah, originally like with my brothers, you know, my brother Severe, Rich Blue, you know, my homeboy Free, he in Canada, he a producer MC, you know, Sincere. We all Familiar Boys. Originally it was Familiar Boys. And my older brother, General Luciano, he was locked up upstate, and there was just some Italian dude, and he was like, you know, he was telling them the story about his brothers and how his dad do music. And he was like, y'all should call yourselves Familiar Boys. And my brothers, like one of my brothers is half Puerto Rican, and he just said it sound better as Familiar Boys. Yeah. And that's what we went with. But it's still, you know, Familiar Boys. That's the original name. And Familiar stands for all my immediate loved ones, I am responsible. My older brother came up with that.
For all my immediate loved ones, I am responsible.
Even with 1,000 Words video, I flipped it. I was like, for all my immediate loved ones, I'm a ride for. So I still bring it up. That's why I say get familiar so much, because, you know, that's what we stand by. That's what we stand for, this family, you know what I mean? And it's keeping my older brother, you know, his movement going. That's basically how it started. That's why I still do it. I put it in my hooks. I say it in, you know, in my ad libs. You know, I always say get familiar.
And it's dope, and you'll say like get familiar. And I wasn't sure. I was trying to figure out who it was. So you have a track on Universal Toungues 3, your new album, which just dropped, which is banging. It's got incredible songs like Get Used to It, featuring Napoleon Da Legend, the lead single, 1,000 Words, which you have the video for, and Familiar Cloth, which is dope.
Appreciate it.
I didn't know this, but it's got GNyce, which is that, right?
Right.
And Mav. Who's Mav?
Mav is he's from the Cloth. The Cloth is like popping right now. To me, they like, you know, the new Locks of the underground, in my opinion. And there ain't no shade to the Locks or anything like that, but that's just how I see them. You know what I mean? And you got Riggs, you got Rob Gates, you got Synth, Mav, and this is Times Change and Illinois, and they just a dope collective, and they're a group, but at the same time they all do their own thing and get their own name, you know what I mean? And Mav, he just really been popping, you know, these past few years. He really been getting his name up, and I've been hitting him, you know, through the Instagram DM for a while now, just telling him that I wanted to work with him, and this was definitely the perfect time. Like once I laid that verse down, that was like one of the last songs for the project, that and the Napoleon track. And I just felt like that was for him. And then, you know, I reached out to him, and he definitely came through for me.
Got it. So Familiar Cloth is the two crews.
Yeah, like you got the Cloth, that's their own group. and then I put it together with Familiar, because, you know, my label, my rap group is Familiar Boys. So I put Familiar Cloth. You know what I mean? This a play on words because he from the cloth. I'm from Familiar Boys.
Dude, that track is a banger.
I appreciate it.
That joint is a banger. You have I listened to that album, especially since we were meeting today, and it's the new album. 1,000 Words is dope, and Familiar Cloth is dope. The whole album is super solid. And then Get Used to It, right? And I love the up tempo, and I love you because a lot of your tracks you're in a slower BPM than you are on Get Used to It. But on Get Used to It, you went a little bit, you know, like the beat's a little bit more tempo. Talk to us about Get Used to It, picking that beat, rapping on that style beat, and then working with the great Napoleon Legend.
Yeah, man, like that, like when I like with MANZU, what he usually do, cause like we got a group, me, MANZU, Katona P. He from the Bronx originally, but he live up here in Rochester too. We got a group called Three Kings, and we also working on Three Kings too. That'll be coming out later this year.
Okay.
But what MANZU do, he'll send a whole beat pack, and we did Three Kings 2 first. Like that was basically done before I started working on Universal Toungues 3.
Oh,
and
so it's done.
Yeah, basically right now we might add a couple features or whatever, but it's basically done. Now you just got to start mixing it, and then, you know, that probably take him a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most, because he really is particular with his sound. Even with Universal Toungues 3, like right before we turned it in with our publicist, and right before we put it to DistroKid to put on the DSPs, he still the day before changed it a couple of things because he want everything perfect. You know what I mean? That's dope. So shout out to MANZU BEATZ. You know what I mean? For real, from Italy. And you know that, like when he sent the beat pack, I pick my beats, then I tell him, and then he'll send the full version because he only sent like a snippet. And that was definitely one of the beats that I had to do. Like when I heard it, it's something caught me. And then when he made it longer, it just sounded even more dope. And that was basically, I think, the last one that I recorded for sure. And once I recorded it, I always wanted to work with Napoleon Da Legend. Yeah. And I just felt that was just the perfect track for him. Yeah. Definitely. And he sent it back the next day. That's how you know he was really feeling it, and he just a real, true, you know, genuine hit MC. Yeah, man, he's just dope, real dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Word.
And I find when I look at your discography and the amount of work that you've put in, how many albums you've released, the fact that you got Three Kings ready to go, you know, Three Kings 2 ready to go, it's reminiscent to me of artists, and there's not that many of them, like Napoleon Da Legend, that, you know, they'll release 5, 6, 7, 8 projects in a year, and all of the projects are dope with concepts, production. You know, you're doing something similar to what he's done also, where you work with one producer like MANZU, he'll do that album, then you turn around and work with another producer, and they got an album. You got these projects dropping, but you give them each their window, right? You drop the project, you do the vinyl and the merchandise with it, and then you go on to the next. Yeah. And that's how he's built his career, and you're following a similar blueprint, you know? Yeah. Where like, you're like releasing projects, you've got the merch, take a minute, push it, radio, publicist, shout out MJ.
Yeah, right? Shout out MJ Hip Hop Connects, for real.
And then you move on to the next. So that's really dope. You know, Universal Toungues 3 made me go back and listen to Universal Toungues 2 and Universal Toungues the first.
I appreciate that.
They're all masterfully produced, and you know, your lyrics and your cadence, your voice is so unique. You know, I don't think I've heard anybody that quite has your on a song. You know who at what moment M. Dot comes on. You know it. You know what I'm saying? Because your voice is so unique and your flow is so unique. It's a mixture of a lot of my favorite artists. You know, I hear some DMX, I hear some Pop Smoke, I hear even like a little bit of Lost Boys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's completely original.
Yeah.
It's completely original. Yeah.
I don't know where exactly the voice came from, because I think it's just because my voice is deep and raspy. Plus, I grew up down south, but I always had my New York roots. You know what I mean? I would come up here and visit my dad or my grandma, chill with my cousins or whatnot. But I think that's how it, it is blended together, that the Carolina accent and then, the upstate New York accent.
Yeah. It sounds super unique and refreshingly original on recording. How did you connect with MANZU? Because you've done the 3 Universal Tongue albums, the 3 Kings album, and the new 3 Kings album that's coming later this year. How did y'all connect? Because he's an incredible producer.
Yeah, he's mad dope. Like, basically, like with my brother Severe, I had Severely Familiar 1 and 2. And after the first one, he was also releasing with Jamal Gasol. He's from Niagara Falls. He mad dope too. I actually opened up for him at a show here. It's a producer MC called Volatile, and Golden, who's on the project. Rest in peace to SMD. He's a producer MC. They all had this thing. I think it was like once a month. I would say it's called the Smoking Buddha, and I performed there a couple times. But Jamal Gasol, he came here and rocked out. I got to see him then. But around that time, MANZU BEATZ reached out to me, and he was just released Jamal Gasol as the Future. So basically, I was coming off Severely Familiar with my brother, and I had a real big buzz. You know what I mean? I had a track with Rob Gates from The Cloth on there, and I just really took it up another level. That's when I started really pushing my music. But when I was working with MANZU, when he reached out to me, he's like, "Oh, we got to get a publicist." So this is my first time really working with a real official publicist, Jerry Graham. He worked with the first Universal Toungues 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And basically, he reached out to me, the same thing, sent the beat pack. I did the beats, and I knocked it out, real quick. I usually record quick, even with the features. Somebody send me a feature, and I have it done at least 1 to 3 days. You know what I mean? And basically, we did Universal Toungues 1, and it took off. Like, we got interviews, we got mad blogs, more than I ever had before, and mad other producers started reaching out to me. That's how I worked with Master Conga, K-Zine, and it led to Skinny Bones, the Godfather. And shout out to King Bondero, he from the No Face crew in Canada. A lot of producers reached out, a lot of dope artists, like my homie G-Fan Black, he with the Knuckle Draggers crew, Slick Jack, P-Roll, a lot of dope, they got Tally Rodriguez, he do it all. So I got to meet all these dope artists and producers, and it's just, like I said, it's just a blessing, man. Reaching up from where I'm from, what I mean, starting in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, originally from Rochester, is this, I never imagined I'd be here, you know what I mean? My music is everywhere. I have fans all over the world, that listen to my music, even purchase my music. So it's just a blessing, man. For real.
Yeah, it truly is a blessing. Yeah, you're popping in Europe a lot. You work with European producers. They have a love for real hip hop. Right? Like, I'm not so sure about, what's on the radio in the United States. I don't know how much that's popping in Europe, but in Europe they love hip hop. They love some boom bap. They love some grime, right? They love lyrics. They love, like that Renaissance sound.
Right.
And they're making beats as good or better than we are stateside. It's incredible. Like, a lot of the producers you mentioned are like Master Conga. I've known about them even prior. Right. They're like that dope. What's it like working with producers in Europe? Is there a different sound, or does it just sound like, almost as same?
Technically, it's that 90s sound, but at the same time, like Master Conga, he sound like he, his beats, he might get his samples from a movie or something. It sounds like different. Then MANZU, he gets certain sounds, like who knows where he get those sounds from. So everybody got their own sound. That's why I like it, because I like to write, I like to create.
Yeah.
So when I work with MANZU, I know he coming with something different. When I work with Master Conga, I know it's gonna sound like a cinematic. K-Zine, Skinny Bones, he got that grimy boom bap feel. So it's like it's dope to see, because you could tell that they grew up on the old hip hop that I grew up on. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a young kid, I started out listening to West Coast music, because I'm an '80s baby, so West Coast was popping then. Then it started going to New York, and then I'm down south, so when the trap era, 3-6 Mafia, all that took over. I like some of that music. I grew up listening to that music, especially Outkast. I love Outkast.
Mm-hmm.
So, that all influenced me. That's why I have this certain sound. And, like with Sixth Floor from the UK, we just put out that single, Fire on the Sixth Floor.
Yeah.
That's more of a trap drill type sound. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm used to trap beats. So I was able to rap on it. And I still sound like myself. And my hook still sound like me, but it's just over like a drill type beat. Yeah. And it did well. We got blogs, and I got on more UK stations than I normally did. So it was a win for me just to try something different.
Yeah, and you're so versatile, and you write so quick, man. I mean, like, you literally could drop a song probably like in a day or two. It's sending in the back.
The project Bobby and Huey with my dad, that was our first project. I made that in 7 days. 7 days, Bobby and Huey.
So check this out. This is from late 2020 up to like last week, right? So in like about 3 years, you've dropped Universal Toungues, Severely Familiar 2, Incognito, Universal Toungues 2, Three Kings, Familiar Renaissance, Dawn of Composition, The Godfather and the Don 2, Universal Toungues 3. You've done all that work in such a short period of time.
Plus, and it's more than that, because
there's stuff like Severely Familiar 2. I'm like, well, where's 1?
Yeah, Severely Familiar 1, Bobby and Huey, the projects with Master Conga, French Connection 1, 2, and he has Cita Violenta, which is really MANZU BEATZ and Master Conga project, but I'm on every track. Yeah. So it's kind of like my project as well, you know what I mean? So like, I think the song Moments with MANZU, I said on the second verse, my paradigm was revolutionary. That was my first official album, The Revolutionary Paradigm. But I had that on TuneCore, and I stopped using TuneCore. So it's really like an unreleased project. Like only the first early DJs and people that I gave it to really got that project. And you might have some songs on YouTube or SoundCloud or something like that. But I will plan on re-releasing that, because that's my first conscious project. Yeah. And it's really, really dope. You know what I mean? And, like on there, I said I dropped 12 projects. You know what I mean? This in a few years. And I got over 50 features, in the past like 3 years, you know what I mean? So I've really been working, you know what I mean? And I'm, like I said before, I'm just blessed, you know what I mean? To be able to have these connections with all these dope artists. And, it's just, we all helping each other. They open the door, they get on the platform, I get on the platform, we all pushing and we all just repping, especially all us upstate New York artists and East Coast artists, Massachusetts, G-Fan Black and them, we all just trying to, stamp that flag back to that golden era, that real boom bap, grimy feel, you know what I mean? That's all what we're trying to do, make our mark.
Yeah. Are you gonna, so now that you're not using TuneCore, right? And for people who don't know, TuneCore is a digital distributor. So if you've moved to DistroKid, right? So are you going to take the stuff that was on TuneCore and release it on DistroKid so that it's out there?
Yeah, I'm going to put a Revolutionary Paradigm on DistroKid. And I have other projects like I said before, Autobiography of Pain. And probably, like I was telling my dad, I want to do like a Lost Sessions type of mixtape where I have all this unreleased music that I got. Because I got a lot of good tracks that I just been sitting on, you know what I mean? But like I said before, is this because I have so much projects with these producers that I got. I still got Master Conga. We about to drop another one. Then Noam Chomsky from the Netherlands. We're gonna drop one probably at the end of the year or beginning of next year. You know, Three Kings 2, that might drop around the fall sometime. So, you know, I definitely got some projects that I'm about to drop right now. But, you know, I'm just right now focused on, you know, Universal Toungues
Yeah.
3. And then later on next month or so, I'll probably drop the Master Conga project.
Okay.
But I'm definitely gonna try to do another visual, maybe the math track or something like that. Do a visual for that.
That's dope, man. Man, you've been putting in the work. Walk us through what it's like when you get like a beat and you're like, yo, this is dope. I'm gonna write a song to this. How long
Yeah.
does it turn around the song? You know, do you have a setup where you just record it yourself? Do you write it on your phone and a notepad? Do you do it just in your head? What's it like for you? Because you're so prolific. I think a lot of people are curious. Like, how does he produce so much content?
Basically, you know, I've always been a writer. I used to write in my notebook, but I write on my phone now because this is much easier. Plus, you got spell check and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But basically, somebody send me a beat, a producer, and like when I'm working on projects, I have to come up with a concept most of the time. I come up with a concept like Universal Toungues. The main reason I call it Universal Toungues is because I feel like hip hop is universal.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the tongue, I'm using my tongue to rap and whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always come up with a concept, and then I always just be having bars and stuff in my head. So if somebody send me a feature or something, I'm able to just come up with it quick just because I'm always thinking. Plus, I always be writing anyway, so I could go in and, you know, look at some old raps that I got that I never put out, or I just start fresh, you know what I mean? Just because I'm always creating. And with me, it's like, as long as I keep writing, as long as I keep recording, I'm able to do it, like, you know, fast. But as soon as I take a break, like if I don't record, if I don't write for like a month, then I might get a little bit of writer's block and I have to take my time. But I usually write fast, you know what I mean? I come up with a couple bars, take a break, and come back to it, and then I'll finish it, you know what I mean? Especially if it's just a verse. But if it's a song, you know, I'll take my time with it, come back to it, create a hook, and then once I get that first verse and first hook, the second verse is be easy like that. And I just, you know, just like to write. That's basically just being me, you know what I mean? You know, I had people in my family always say I was gonna be a great writer. So
Yeah.
I think that was just something that was always in me. Is just the music thing, just my dad and my mom being a music lover. That's just where my focus went to as far as for writing. You know what
Where
I
it
mean?
met, where the poetry and the hip hop met. Right.
Right.
That's dope, man. You know, you've worked with MANZU, he's out in Italy. Master Conga's out in France. You work with producer now in Netherlands, in the UK. Have you thought about maybe doing a tour like in Europe, or have you talked like has MANZU been like, look, we just dropped 3 projects together. We need to do something where you come out here. Is there anything like that in the works?
Yeah. I've definitely been looking up, you know, as far as touring. But as far as overseas, I gotta look more into that. But I definitely want to do like a little short tour for the US, I'll say. 'Cause I got some spots that I could go to. Like I was honestly like before the pandemic, I already had people reaching out to me to perform. Then the pandemic happened and shut down, and I just been focusing more on recording because it's just easier to do that. But I definitely want to get back into performing. I did a couple shows up here recently. Rest in peace to SMD. We had a tribute show for him. And then I had another show, Katona P. He got to perform at Blizz the Juice show, and I got to open up with him. So it's definitely something I always did. I just never had a lot, you know, practice with that. But I always was, you know, a natural performer. You know what I mean? Like even in high school, there's a thing called Battle of the Bands, and you know, rock bands, hip hop acts, whatever. They got to go on stage and perform. And you know, that was probably one of the first times I actually performed. And it was just like it was mad. You know, it was high school students, but still, it was mad people from my school and from other schools. And you know, that's literally my first time performing. So, you know, I've always been a performer. I always like to perform, you know, my music. But I'm definitely gonna look into it, especially overseas. You know, I would love to go overseas, just because I do have a fan base over there. So I definitely would be, you know, something nice to see, something nice to do for sure.
You know, one of the things that really blew me away, and I was super impressed by, was like your Bandcamp. And you've got like a lot of vinyl available for different projects that you've done. Talk to us about, you know, putting together vinyl, who you're working with. Are you thinking about doing vinyl for, you know, every project you do? What's that like for you?
MANZU BEATZ, like with Universal Toungues one, he was the main one because I never really thought about doing that. But when he's, you know, he's talked about it and he's like, yo, we got to do it. It's a classic project. It's something, you know, we should have, you know, have for our fans. And that was the first time I ever did that. And we sold pretty well. It was, we used, I forgot their name. Man, I forgot their name. But we used somebody, you know, for the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second time, the third time, with also with Three Kings, we used Bandcamp because Bandcamp has their own vinyl, whatever, makers, you know what I mean, distributors. So right now we're just using Bandcamp. I definitely would like to use, because it's a lot of vinyl makers out there, especially ones who got their name up out there. So I definitely want to do, you know, go back into the catalog, like Bobby and Huey, Incognegros, me and my dad. Like I was more of an executive producer, but Rock Builders. We're also making Rock Builders 2 right now. And that was basically upstate New York artists on the first one, Rock Builders 1. So I definitely want to, you know, go back into the catalog and get some vinyl. Also, I had tapes with French Connection 1 and 2. Me and Master Conga, we had tapes available. And they also, you know, it's just dope to have, you know what I mean? It's something for your real fans and people who really want that merch, you know what I mean?
To hold a physical piece, to do the artwork. There's a lot of value.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because you never know, you know, it might blow up, really blow up one day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might become a lot valuable, you know what I mean?
No, that's dope. Yeah, that's really cool. There was a, you were talking about Three Kings with Cortana P, right? That's a dope album. I think for some of the promotional stuff, I used the Three Kings track. I thought it was really cool. But there's a really dope track off of that album that I like a lot called Family Tree, right? It's called Family Tree off the Three Kings.
Oh, Family Tree. Yeah. That was the lead single. We actually had a video. We had a lot of artists that come out. Some Street Villain from Syracuse and my homie Juggernaut the MC. There's mad dope MCs that came out to support us. And it was just like a party vibe, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much what the track is, Family Tree. You know, because like we're doing Three Kings, like MANZU BEATZ, he'll send us a beat package. And, you know, Cortana P, he'll pick his selection. I'll pick mine. And then I'll write a verse and a hook for my beats that I pick. And he'll do a verse and a hook for his. And that just makes it mad easier because it's like you only have to do a verse and a hook. And then he'll send it and I just write another verse. So it's mad simple. And he is dope MC, you know, a veteran. And he got a lot of dope music. Like right now he's doing a single every 2 weeks. So check out Cortana P on Bandcamp. He got singles that's not available on the DSPs, you know what I mean? So this is Three Kings was definitely, you know, a moment for me, you know what I mean? Because it was the first time me doing a group project to put out on a professional, real level. And we used the publicists for that too. So it really, you know, picked up some steam. We got Bub Styles on there and he done took off. He was already taking off at the time. Now he done took off even more. And, you know, Zagnif Nori, mad dope MC. He was on there as well. And, you know, it was just a dope, you know what I mean, creation. You know what I mean? Just to put it together, you know, a trio, you know what I mean, a producer and 2 MCs. You know what I mean? That was something new for me.
Did MANZU BEATZ produce Three Kings 2 also?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. Like I can't wait till people hear that one. Because that, you know, after we did Three Kings, like the bar was really, that's what, because I took like a year in between from Universal Toungues 2 to 3, and that's why, because of Three Kings. That project was so dope. That was probably the best thing that I made with MANZU BEATZ at the time. That, you know, I had to have something that could match that with Universal Toungues 3. That's why first I had to just take my time. You know, I worked with Skinny Bones, the Godfather. I put out with my dad, Rock Builders Project. He fully produced that and mixed it as well. And after that, you know, I felt more prepared, you know what I mean? Because like once you could make a dope project, especially without MANZU BEATZ, that still sound is dope, you know, and that's on that level. And I felt like Rock Builders was like that. Then I was like, all right, it's time to go back, you know, to the drawing board and see if I could really match. Because, you know, Universal Toungues 1, 2, and Three Kings, that was a lot of dope music, you know what I mean? And I had to make one project to match all of that. You know what I mean?
Bring it in
I
at that
definitely
level.
feel I did it. Yeah, and I definitely feel like I did it with this one. You know what I mean? This is like, I definitely want to say some of my best work yet. And it's not, you know, to not anything else that I did, because everything, you can't really match any of the projects or compare them, I should say, because, you know, when I work with a producer, you know, I'm putting myself in a different zone, a different concept album, you know what I mean? So it's hard for me to compare each project to each project just because I know I'm in a different zone, I'm in a different mood. And I feel like that's why they're so dope, you know what I mean? That's why I could do a project from Skinny Bones from Netherlands and with MANZU in Italy, just because I know that they're going to put me in a different mood, you know what I mean? And have me write something completely different than I would write on my own.
Yeah. You got one track I wanted to ask you about that's a banger. It's called Upstate New York. And that joint is a banger, and it plays off of New York State of Mind.
Right, yeah.
Talk to us about that track.
I think that was on Severely Familiar too with my brother Severe. And he got his own sound too, you know what I mean? And he, just like me, he grew up listening to all different types of music. Our dad being a producer, DJ, so we got to be around music. And me, I always try to make a beat, but I could never do it. I'm just a better rapper and writer. But he always was good. He could rap and he could do beats, and he good at both. But that beat, he sent it to me, and I knew where I was gonna go with it. It sounded like, you said, it sounded like some New York State of Mind.
It's
and,
different.
You know, I took it.
It's different. It's like the piano was played slightly different. It's
Right.
dope. When you listen to it, it's like, this is New York, but this is upstate New York. And then everybody goes in against their man. It's dope.
I appreciate it. And then, like, the concept, you know, I just wanted to have upstate New York and whatnot. You know, I had my brother rap on it, and my dad, he did some scratches at the end of it. And, you know, it was just one of those bangers. It definitely took off. It definitely had a lot of radio play at the time. And, you know, you could tell, because I always check my stats and whatnot, and I could tell that the fans really liked that track. I always wanted to do, you know, go back and do some visuals from my older projects. Yeah. And that's definitely one of them I got to do a visual for. Yeah. For sure.
That'd be dope. You got your new album, Universal Toungues 3, completely produced by MANZU BEATZ in Italy. It's a banger. You've got the new single from that, 1,000 Words, with the music video. You've got other hit tracks like Get Used to It, featuring Napoleon Da Legend, and Familiar Claw with Mav and GNyce, right? It's an incredible project. Where can people find that? Where can people find you if they want to connect with you? And you work with all these producers from Europe. If producers are watching this, how can they get you beats? All of that.
Well, you can always find me m.diego. You know, that's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You know, any producers or artists want to reach out, work with me, you can just DM me on Instagram. And as far as my music, I'm on Bandcamp. All my collab projects like Skinny Bones and Godfather, you know, MANZU BEATZ with Universal Toungues 1, 2, and 3. You can look at it on as far as Bandcamp on the producers. So for this project, if you want to support us on Bandcamp, just go to MANZU BEATZ Bandcamp. And as far as DSPs, I'm M.Diego on there as well. And you can always find all my music on all the DSPs for the most part. Besides like Autobiography of Pain, that's still on live mixtapes right now. But definitely just I'm available. You know what I mean? If you want to work with me, just DM me on Instagram. And if you want to check me out, check out my music or support me and follow me, just follow me on all social medias and check me out on all streaming services and online stores, whatever y'all like to use, for sure.
Yeah. My bro, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for an incredible discography. You've been doing so much work like over the last several years. And by what you've told me, you've dropped 3 albums this year, and there's another 2 or 3 at least coming. So,
yes,
keep doing that, man. You're feeding it. It's that real hip hop with dope lyrics, incredible production, vinyl and cassettes for every project. You know what I mean? So incredibly dope. Salute to you, and thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for listening to my music and for this dope conversation. I really appreciate it. Shout out to MJS Hip Hop Connects for plugging us, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, my bro.
Thank you, bro. Take it easy.
All right.
Salute.
Salute.
Peace.